A threat is more than a sentence. It is a psychological contract built on fear, risk, and consequence. It requires no force, no violence, and no physical action. Its power lives in expectation, not impact. Machiavelli understood this deeply. In The Prince, he wrote about punishment not as cruelty, but as a tool to maintain order when chaos was the alternative. Not every threat was meant to be carried out. Many were meant simply to shape behavior. History gives us countless versions of this quiet manipulation. A general places troops along a border, but never fires a shot. The message is enough. A parent whispers, "If this continues, I have no choice." No anger, no shouting, just a line in the psychological sand. None of these are direct acts of force. They are invitations to comply, to retreat, or to rethink. Seen this way, threats are not always expressions of aggression. Sometimes they are born from fear, exhaustion, or the desperate attempt to prevent something worse. A threat can be a barrier against chaos, a warning against crossing boundaries, a shield for someone with no other power left. But a threat is still a dangerous currency, and every time it is used, a debt is formed. Once we bring ethics into the conversation, the ground becomes unstable, because power and morality rarely walk hand in hand. When evaluating threats, two moral perspectives dominate the debate, and they rarely agree. The rule-based view. From this perspective, a threat is inherently unethical. It restricts autonomy, weaponizes fear, and places one person in a position of dominance over another. Intent doesn't matter. Outcome doesn't matter. The mere act of using fear as leverage is seen as a violation of dignity. A threat in this worldview is a form of coercion, and therefore, always a moral failure. The outcome-based view. The second perspective sees morality through consequences. Here, the ethical weight of a threat depends on what it prevents. If a threat stops violence, reveals corruption, or blocks a dangerous action that would cause far greater harm, it may be considered a necessary act. Threaten a violent attacker? Threaten a corrupt official? Threaten to expose injustice that would otherwise remain hidden? In these cases, the threat is not about dominance. It's about deterrence. This is where ethical philosophy becomes uncomfortable. A threat may be wrong in principle, but right in outcome. Morality in the real world is rarely clean. Sometimes the least harmful choice still carries harm. Sometimes the only ethical move is the one that prevents a worse one. And the world does not always reward moral clarity. Sometimes it rewards the least damaging option. Even when a threat appears justified, it carries hidden dangers, dangers Machiavelli himself warned about. A threat is not a stable tool. It is volatile, reactive, and easily misused. And it leaves lasting consequences. The first risk is escalation. A threat corners the other person, and cornered people do not always become reasonable. They become unpredictable. A threat meant to de-escalate can provoke a reaction far more destructive than the original conflict. When fear enters the room, logic often leaves. The second risk is resentment. Fear might compel obedience in the moment, but it does not create loyalty. It does not inspire respect. It does not foster trust. A person who has been threatened does not forget the moment they were made small. Even if they comply today, they may quietly rebel tomorrow. Threats may control behavior temporarily, but they plant seeds of bitterness that grow long after the threat is gone. The third risk is the loss of legitimacy. Authority built on intimidation is brittle. It may look strong, but it breaks easily. The one who depends on fear must constantly reinforce it. They must renew the threat, refresh the intimidation, maintain the posture of control. Respect decays, credibility thins, and the power that remains becomes expensive to maintain. This is the Machiavellian paradox. A threat might win in the moment, but weaken the wielder over time. Power gained through fear does not stay quietly in your hands. It fights you. It costs you. And sometimes it consumes you. So when, if ever, is a threat ethically defensible? To answer that, we look not at the threat itself, but at the conditions surrounding it. A threat becomes closer to moral legitimacy when it rises naturally from 5 principles. First, there is a clear and present danger. The threat responds to real harm, not imagined fear or emotional impulse. This is not about punishing disrespect, defending ego, or proving dominance. It is about preventing actual, imminent damage to yourself or others. Second, it is used as a last resort. A threat is ethically weakest when it is the first option, and it is ethically strongest when it is the final one. When calm dialogue fails, when negotiation proves impossible, when every non-coercive path leads nowhere, a threat may shift from dominance to self-preservation. Third, it is proportional. The consequence threatened must match the harm prevented, not exceed it, not amplify it, not exploit it. You do not burn a bridge to stop a single betrayal. You do not destroy a person to correct a mistake. And you do not hold someone's life hostage to solve a moment of frustration. A threat that exceeds the harm is not a boundary. It is oppression. Fourth, the intent is transparent. Why the threat is made matters as much as the threat itself. If the motive is protection, to stop an ongoing harm, to preserve safety, to prevent losses, the ethical footing is stronger. If the motive is to dominate, to manipulate, to punish, to control, or to feed the ego, then even a mild threat becomes morally dangerous. Power without clarity is power without accountability. Fifth, the threat is reversible. Once compliance is given, the threat dissolves. It does not linger. It does not transform into ongoing punishment. It does not turn into revenge. A reversible threat is a boundary. An irreversible threat is tyranny. Used this way, a threat becomes less of a weapon and more of a line drawn in defense of stability. But even when used with care, a threat leaves a mark on both sides, because fear changes memory. Fear changes relationships. Fear changes how people interpret future silence. No threat truly disappears after it is spoken. Threats are powerful. They shape behavior redirect conflict, and sometimes prevent catastrophe. But raw power is not the measure of a life well lived. The real test is not whether a threat works. Many immoral things work. Many destructive strategies succeed. In the short term, the real question is this: does the use of intimidation strengthen the world you want, or break it? Ethics is not the restraint of power, but the discipline to aim power with intention. In the end, the presence of a threat reveals more about the person who makes it than the person who receives it. A threat can expose strength. It can expose fear. It can expose desperation. It can expose courage. But it always exposes something. As the room grows quiet and all eyes wait for the next movement, remember this: the true measure of power is not found in the threat itself, but in the wisdom of when to use it and when to walk away.